I want to say this has been it's been an incredible morning. It's almost my regret that more exes didn't make it to hear the very first talk. Dr. Joyce's talk was so compelling about telling our personal stories. I actually put a Facebook thing on that because when we were talking about the order, there was a method to the madness. We saw that, let's talk about our personal stories first, because that's a key. I actually learned a lot by listening to that. And for those of you who missed it, I'm hoping you could even just give us a little summary if we even have time at the end, because I found that very powerful. We have been holding on to stories. Then Lizzie comes down and shares her personal story and see how moved we were. It spoke to every one of us, I'm sure of it. And if we know people that are going through it, we now know what to look for and how to reach out to them. And the reason you saw, as those of you who were here saying, okay, that should come before this, is because what she talked about ties to what I'm about to talk about. When you are beat down the way that she's beat down, oftentimes you undervalue yourself and you don't realize it sometimes that you're actually settling for less. And a lot of us, I've been one that had settled for less for a long time in many areas, career, relationships, different aspects of my life, and I didn't even know sometimes I was doing it. Other times I was too afraid to do anything differently. So I want to touch on that. But before I start my talk, I want to read a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. I don't know if any of you know it. It's by Marianne Williamson. I go back to this quote over and over again, so I'll read it to you ladies. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. I'll repeat that one. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. Amen. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's a quote by Marianne Williamson. I love that quote. The reason I love that quote is that it always reminds me, I used to feel apologetic for who I am. I would walk into a room and cower and just want to hide or notice. Let me just sneak into that meeting. Let me just let this get by. I always wanted to get by on the sidelines because I was afraid of my power. I didn't even recognize my power. Some of you who have presence, who get noticed, oh, na show, it over sabi, now only he must talk. Why not only your hand must go up? And then you start feeling bad about who you are. You start not wanting to speak up. You start not wanting to shine. When a man is beating you down, how does he stand? She go quiet. Oh, they must say for you all the time. No when are that close. How you go people, they distract people there. It starts little by little. And you start believing it. You start letting your light dim, and before you know it, your light is out, and it's a dead you that's out there. You are not living your potential at that time. That's just one way that you settle for less in relationships. The other way you settle for less is in careers. Now this one, I see it all the time. I mean, I see it so much now that I have realized, and I'll say this, if you go for a job, never accept the first offer unless it's really a McDonald's job. Just recently, I was hiring a gentleman, and it's not the first time. This guy I've been looking for someone wonderful, and I've been having mediocrity for so long, that when this guy came along, he was like a godsend. I was willing to give this guy $15,000 more on his pay, and a huge bonus package that I started at the minimum. And he thought about it, did not counter, I'll take the job. And I smiled. He's the lowest paying person that reports to me, but the most qualified. Not the first time. Happens all the time. Actually, I've come to learn how often I have settled for less in my career just by being too afraid to ask for more. So my sisters, I'm going to say this to you today, whether it's for a job, whatever you do in life, ask for more. Expect more. Expect somebody to treat you a certain way. Expect and demand your respect because you are worthy. We sometimes don't think we're good enough. You know what you're capable of. Do not be afraid of your power. It's your power. If I threw something at you, and we're survivors, right? We came from Africa, we came from pharmacists, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're all kinds of roles. We're doing talks and doing all these incredible things. We are powerful. Nothing can stop us. So why should you sit in your room and be too afraid to ask for your worth? So what if this company doesn't want to pay for you for that? There's another company that will recognize that because you know what you can contribute to them. We do that too often. You know your worth. Do not always remember this guy that I've talked about. You know, he was probably afraid that if he had countered, I would say forget it. But what he should have thought of is that just by me offering, I was interested. It's like a date, right? You have to at least know that this person isn't doing you a favor. That's another reminder. Life is not a favor that somebody's doing for you. We go through life, and I know this is something I used to tell my mom. I'll get upset with my mom. Say, Mom, this is not a favor that somebody is doing for you. You've paid for that service. So expect and demand the service you've paid for. Don't go to the mechanic and the guy is feeding you BS and you're, okay, well, patron, you're the patron. No. You're paying this guy for a service and expect that level of service. You walk into a store to buy shoes or you go to get your kids' supplies and somebody is not paying attention to you. That's your money. Value that. It's your hard-earned money. Demanding every part of your life, you should be demanding your worth. You should not be settling. Valentine's Day, you're not getting flowers. Not everybody likes flowers, I know. Unacceptable. Honey, I understand. I've made it okay for years. I would kind of like for you to send me flowers this year. Ask for it. No, and I'm being very honest about it. I'm actually that girl. You know, my husband and I, we started quite young. We were students, you know, having that little job. So every little thing was, it's okay, which is something that I hate. Those two words now I hate. Don't worry about it. Well, sorry, I forget that, but no problem, no worry. But then over the years, you come to realize actually it's not that he's a bad person. It becomes a culture in your relationship that you set. Because you settle for less, you set the bar so low. Then you expect now this guy to all of a sudden figure out that you have matured out of that phase. No, men are not cut out that way. You have to re-educate him, retrain him to respect and appreciate you and value you for the way you are today. And sometimes demand those things not because you care too much for them, but to just set a precedent, just set some kind of expectation. On Valentine's Day, you have to do those flowers. A friend of mine, she's an actress, Kanji Miller. So she's dating this guy, and then we go to have a little coffee talk, and she says to me, that's actually when one time, then when I started realizing that we weren't making too many, I wasn't making too many demands of my relationship. She said, and she just expected me to get it. And she said, Amabel, I'm dating this new guy. And I don't get it, you know, he's an African guy, she's African American. Can you believe he did not send me flowers? So at first, that was for Valentine's Day. In my mind, I'm saying, but I mean, and the way she said it, she said it almost as though this is something that is so obvious and almost the crime against being a woman that at that moment, I realized, you know what? Maybe I should have those same set of expectations. She demanded it. She said, oh, no. I said, so what? No. I called him immediately and asked him to correct the problem. Instant result. And he corrected the problem and has not forgotten to send her flowers ever since. Now, flowers I'm using as an analogy, just to say, when we set the bar too low, when you plant apples, you cannot harvest oranges. So all I want for us to take home today is, let's remind ourselves that when we plant apples, we will get apples. It's all about the choices that we make, what we've fed into that whole setup. that is where it is today. Now, you may say, okay, but if I'm already here, and I'm already set up this way, I may not even know that I'm settling. And I'm going to shift now a little bit more to the career side. I wanted just to touch on the general, that we do it personally, but I want to really zone in more on in our careers and other things that we want to pursue, whether it's a business. We're sometimes too afraid to pursue our dreams because it's not other people that set the obstacles for us. We set the obstacles. We make the decision that we are not capable, or that person will say no. And what I've learned, some of you may know, I started a publication called African Rights. When I started, I didn't know much about publishing. And it was terrifying, and I was discouraged by so many people not to do it. I was put down a lot when I was doing that. But somehow, and I don't even know where I got that from, I don't even know how I survived it. The one thing I constantly would wake up in the morning, I would say, what can I do today? And who can I ask for help? Ask. And the worst thing that will happen is that if somebody will say no, but it's not the end of the world. If 10 people say no, there's one person that might say yes. And I'm always looking for that one person. When you do sales, they always say, your 100th call, they used to tell us, I did sales before, and they'll say your 100th call is your deal. But if you don't make those 99 calls, you're not going to hit 100. So ask. Even the Bible says, ask, and you shall receive. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be open. Do you know every time I'm stuck, I actually say to God, God, you said if I ask, I will receive, and I'm asking. I can testify that my doorway is always open when I ask Him. So if God is telling us that that's what we need to do, why should we reject that idea? What are we afraid of? Why should we let our fears stay in the way and stop us from seeing beyond our power? Remember that we are powerful beyond measure. It is up to us, it's up to you to decide how far you want to take your power. If you want to just say, okay, I'm going to sit and be stuck where I am, that's what's going to happen. The only thing I'll ask is, don't make it somebody else's problem. It's you. It's you. It's not that other person. So I want to just touch on kind of 4 things that I want us to always do when we're going through situations to try to remind ourselves that we have to get out. One is that you have to take ownership and assess situations. And what do I mean by taking ownership? Take a step back and say, where am I today and how did I contribute to get here? Nobody can control you if you don't let them. So don't say, I'm here today because I have kids. I'm here today because of my job. Well, they're making me do this, or my husband is forcing me to. Nobody forces you, you force yourself. So you can change any situation by the choices you make. They're not going to be easy choices. Sometimes we make decisions because they're easy choices, then we say that's just the way it is. Don't take the path of least resistance. If it means you have to go to night school to get that new promotion that you need to pursue your career, then go to night school. That's the price. There's a price for everything. Pay that price. Does it mean that you're not going to have sleepless nights? You will have the sleepless nights, but that's the price you have to pay. So for everything you want to do, there's a price. But don't do less because of that price. Take it on as a challenge. Because again, you're what? You're powerful beyond measure. Can we repeat and say, I am powerful beyond measure?
I am powerful beyond measure.
The only person that can get in your way is you. Can we say one more time? I'm powerful beyond measure.
I am powerful beyond measure.
We have to always believe that. There's nothing I believe that you may set your mind on, any of you ladies here, that you cannot accomplish. And I'm not just saying that. I've done it not because there's anything special with me. I always say, if Amabel do, I'm anyone for the world. I don't think there's anything special about me. I just think that sometimes I just decide to jump in the water and swim, and then we'll find out what happens. If I want to be President Obama, I don't sit down and say, Mama, me, I think we should sit down here. I start with, what do I need to do now to take me closer to meeting the president? That's where I start. So ladies, as I leave here today, always think that it is possible. Your dreams are possible. Your happiness is your right. You are worthy. You deserve it. Do not let anybody ever convince you or tell you any different.